Good afternoon, everyone. We'll wait till everyone joins in, then we can start with the meeting. Thank you for your patience. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world."
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Snehi Agrawal, and alongside me is Sukhman. And together, we have the pleasure of being your host for this insightful session.
On behalf of the Setu team and the entire Scholars fraternity, we extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to all the distinguished schools participating today, to our respected teachers, and to our dear friends.
A special welcome goes to our esteemed resource person, Dr. Soumya Prasad, the visionary founder of Setu, Mr. Pankaj Bhalla sir, our guiding light, Miss Manjula Arora, and our honored principal ma'am, Miss Shikha Gautam.
C2 is an initiative by the Little Scholars Social Service Group aimed at spreading awareness on contemporary issues among young minds.
As you all are aware, each year we organize a series of meticulously planned events culminating in a grand finale that showcase the collective efforts of all involved.
As you may recall, in our last workshop, Dr. Prasad provided an in depth exploration of biodiversity conservation. She highlighted critical threats such as species extinction and invasive species and underscored the importance of adopting a One Health approach.
The discussion delved into managing invasive species, preventing extinction, and conserving natural habitats, with fascinating examples like the impact of non-native species on ecosystem and the significance of preserving habitats, such as those of India's remarkable weaver birds.
So, today we are excited to welcome you all to the second workshop where students from class 9 to 12, which is Group A, will engage with the important theme of wetland restoration.
During this session, we will review the contribution from Task 1 and delve into the challenges that lie ahead.
So, our resource person would like to share a video with all. It's a brief, informative video, and let's watch it.
The wetland treats sewage water through bioremediation and lets it flow into the lake. It is not only efficient and reliable when compared to mechanical sewage treatment plants. This is Neela Hause or Blue Tank. It is a natural depression next to Sanjaywan in South Delhi, India. The tank, once a major source of fresh water in South Delhi and later a dumping ground due to rapid urbanization, is presently a constructed wetland. The wetland treats sewage water through bioremediation and lets it flow into the lake. It is not only efficient and reliable when compared to mechanical sewage treatment plants, but it's also economical. It requires zero electricity. Today, the wetland converts 1 million liters of sewage water per day into clean water comparable to tap water having less than BUD 4 milligrams per liter per day. The success story of Neela Hause has made officials consider similar implementations in other water bodies and develop a network of wetlands ecosystem in the city. Colombo has such a network in place that provides critical life support to the city. This also helps decrease floods. In 2018, Colombo was declared the first capital to be accredited as an international wetland city by Ramsar. Many other cities are coming to realize the significance of wetlands, its intricate connections with the sustainability of the environment and the well being of the people. Just as forests are called the lungs of the earth, wetlands are the kidneys that regulate water and filter waste from the landscape. Wetlands include mangroves, peatlands and marshes, rivers and lakes, deltas, rice fields, and even coral reefs. Wetlands exist in every country and in every climatic zone. In India, around 4.63 of the geographical area is wetlands. A total of 7,57,060 wetlands have been mapped in the country. But why are wetlands important? Wetland ecosystems support a host of animal and plant life, and they're critically important for the survival of humans too, from the mitigation of climate change to the protection of human settlements from floods. But sadly, 50% of the world's wetlands have been destroyed. Without suitable wetland habitat, many species could soon be homeless. Let us explore the benefits of wetlands in detail. Wetlands are great filters. They trap sediments and remove pollutants, which helps to purify water. This certainly beats expensive human-made filtration systems. Wetlands work like giant sponges. They store water and then slowly release it. and this helps to deal with dry seasons with little rainfall. Wetlands can prevent floods. When rivers burst their banks, wetlands can store the excess water and slow it down so it distributes more evenly over a floodplain. The roots of trees and other vegetation also helps slow the speed of flood waters. In the past, city planners either filled in wetlands areas or dammed them, adding pipes that would lead the water to the ocean as fast as possible. But now we know that wetlands allow water to soak into the ground and to replenish the natural groundwater supply. Biodiversity is high around wetlands habitats. These areas provide food and shelter for many animals. The biodiversity of wetlands has produced some incredible specialist species that are only found in these habitats. Wetlands provide good areas for grazing, and the variety of grasses, along with the supply of running water, can be beneficial to farming livestock. Wetlands provide locations for recreation.
Thank you for the video. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over the session to our esteemed panelist for today, Mr. Pankaj Bhalla, who is the visionary founder of Setu. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we just heard a small little um, video. We watched a video presented by the DTE group, down to down to earth group, and they basically identified what is a wetland in a very small little a small little way. And they also said things like they act as kidneys to to our water systems. They flush out and clean out the water. If there's a certain amount of sewage, it can clean it. So, and then they also talked about BOD. BOD is biological oxygen demand. So when suppose you have a fish tank, suppose if you have a fish tank, and you need to kind of make sure that the fish stay healthy. So what you usually put in is a small little aeration kind of pump there, which will keep on aerating uh, that particular tank. Similarly, what is happening with the small little wetlands? Basically, what are they doing? They are creating small little filters so that the water, when it is passing through, water is rippling. When it ripples, it is a certain amount of contact with the oxygen on the surface of the surface of that water body. Along with that, there is also there's a certain amount of algae formation below, which allows again a lot of oxygen, which is generated because of the algae there. So the biological oxygen demand. Similarly, uh, there are other issues which they had talked about, which was mangroves, and they were talking about various other spaces which were like lakes and marshlands. So coming back to where we are, because this is where we'll have to kind of identify our uh, water bodies, or we identify our wetlands in our Terai region, which is most of us are in the Terai region. So when we have to identify these wetlands, the first and foremost thing is why are we looking at these things? Why are we looking at wetlands? So why are we so concerned about it, and why is it affecting us over here? So if you would have noticed in your map of India, and where Uttarakhand is right now presently, where Uttarakhand is situated, there are a lot of small little tributaries which are moving out of Uttarakhand, and they are moving into what we call into the Ganga Basin. Ganga Basin hosts a lot of a number of tributaries like the Yamuna. Then we have even the Kosi over here. We have all these other rivers which actually join into the Ganga. And so and Ganga being the most it's the biggest thing which the Indian subcontinent has. The Ganga basin we've been talking about all our lives. We've been talking about in history and the evolution of man and people settling down. The first settlers were along the Ganga basin. But even so now, even I think one third of the population of uh, yeah, I would like so one third of the population of India is somewhat connected to the water of the Ganga. And so then again, we talk about this, and we also know about certain things like the Indian subcontinent. Like I had written down, the Indian subcontinent is endowed by its unique southwest monsoon. Means मतलब कि monsoons जो इंडिया में जो है, इसके साथ what happens is a lot of lakes, rivers, and other catchments. ये इसमें पानी भर जाता है. हमारे आज की तारीख में हम कभी कभी कहते हैं बाढ़ आ गई, लेकिन lot of times the water basically it floods the space. And what happens is after certain when it floods the space, तो हर जगह पानी भर गया है. और जब पानी नीचे रिसीड होता है, जब नीचे होता है पानी, तो उसके बाद what happens is this water gets locked in small little छोटे छोटे pools बन जाते हैं, जहाँ पे आपको बरसातों में हमें क्या नजर आता है. सबसे पहले आपको नजर आएंगे डड्डू की आवाज आएंगी. That means frogs. Frogs will start croaking. Why are the frogs croaking? Why were they not there in the summertime? Why? Because there is something which is happening along the sides of or the banks of the river or the lake where it is situated. वहां पे आपको आवाजें आ रही हैं. उसकी वजह क्या है? There are a lot of insects which are coming there because that's what it feeds on. Okay, and so to procreate and to be around in that area, what happens is it's monsoon is also called the time of plenty. मतलब कि बहुत सारी उनको रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं फॉर देम टू बी एबल टू propagate. And because of these, the insects are also coming in. The insects are coming in because the small little new plants which have come in, because the seeds have fallen in the previous year, and those seeds have now germinated, and there are plants which are coming up there. There are seasonal plants, there are perennial plants. बहुत सारी ऐसी होती है. There are a lot of weeds which are there, and uh, all these things create a flourishing ecosystem. Ecosystem मतलब कि इसको कैसे समझाएंगे कि इकोसिस्टम ये हो गया कि वो अपने आप में uh, एक दूसरे पे निर्भर है. So that would be an ecosystem there. So moving on to the next slide. So we'll move on to the next slide. Uh, Please could you change the slide? Yeah. So I will be talking about two things. Firstly, three things. What is a wetland? Um, the effects of the monsoon in the subcontinent, and third is seasonal and perennial ecosystems. So, identifying the idea of what is a wetland. Could we have the next slide, please? So, I'm showing you some photographs. There are four photographs out here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see them there. Uh, Herein, I have uh, a small little question has opened up for you. You can check on that. Okay. I would like you to identify which is a wetland or which are the wetlands in this. I will give you about 30 seconds. It may be right, it may be wrong. It is just for me to understand. So, which were the wetlands in this? Could we hide the poll so that they could see the different photographs? Let them see the different photographs in this, please. Let's see what we understand, what you have understood by a wetland. So, considering a wetland should be something wherein it can support an ecosystem. Okay. So wetlands we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll give you another 10 seconds. I hope the photographs are very clear. I hope the photographs are clear. You can give me a thumbs up, I would know. Okay, fine. Let's see what the poll says. Could we have a look at the poll? Hello. Then simply opening up. Hmm. Okay, so that's great. We've got number one, which has got the maximum number of that's 59%. Two is 12%, three is 29%, and four is about 11%. One has increased to 61. We're still getting a little confused about it. So let's end the poll here. So we've got one which has got the maximum, and then three, and then two and four, which has got 11 pieces each. So fine, that's great. So yeah. So looking at this now, let's look at the photographs again clearly. So what we see in these photographs, what we see in the first one is basically we see a small little water body and we see a lot of grasses next to it, which obviously makes you feel that there is a marsh area around, which will have certain more marsh area with these grasses around it. So one, yes, it looks very much like a wetland, and yes, let's assume that yes, because the wetland, the marsh areas will host a lot of insects, a lot of birds, a lot of wildlife, maybe the frogs, maybe snakes, and other other water bodies and marsh areas, and the other. Um, because it has been untouched, so I'm assuming there's going to be deer which is going to be close by and things like that. So yes, that's one we could consider as to be a water source and a wetland. Number two, yes, it has got less number of uh, um, possibilities. People have only 11% have voted on that, and yes, two is basically a tractor being used for cultivation of paddy, which we normally see cultivation of paddy. So, would we consider that to be a wetland? I guess not. The reason being, it is something which has been created by man. Yes, wetlands can be created by man, but herein the wetland has been created for a particular purpose. We could be using because we're using plowing it. We are only cultivating it. We're creating, making sure that there is no subsoil water, which is the water which is going down is not going to percolate down. We are making sure that it only the paddy is grown there. That means the rice which is going to be grown there. Nothing else can grow in there. So it is not supporting an ecosystem. It is not supporting an ecosystem. Point number three, we are closer to an ecosystem because it is an enclosure created by man, and it is for maybe cultivation of more towards the seaside, and cultivation of maybe prawns, जो झींगा कहते हैं, prawns and other kinds of fish. It could be brackish water, that means backwaters. It could be brackish water. It could be regular drinking water or potable water. But then again, it has been enclosed. But why would one say that it is good or bad? I would consider no. The reason being, you are going to be feeding some kind of fodder to it. What if you, as a human being who's attending to that particular water source, water body, that water tank, if you do not provide for the food, what happens then? So I guess the fish or the prawns will die. They will eventually perish because they will not have any source of food. Why? Because there is no actual ecosystem, because there are only a couple of types of water, the fish or prawns or whatever that is there in that. Only that is what you want. So it is a controlled environment which is controlled by you, and there is that is the human, and there is no other ecosystem which can generate out there. So I would not consider three also as an ecosystem. Whereas on fourth, there is a water body. There is a water body, and what we see out there is very, very particular to it, very, very prominent, and that is we see birds which are migratory birds. These ducks you can see out there, they're migratory ducks. They're coming all the way from Russia, from Siberia and things like that. And they come in here and they flock. If you see in most of our areas in the Tarai region, these birds, the ducks and the geese, they come in during the winter months, and then they go back. Uh, and they have you can make out from the very good formation they have in terms of how they fly, and their complete system says that the person who's the bird leading is usually a bird which has just been hatched. So the new ones, they know exactly how to migrate back. So it is in their system. So I mean, almost you can say that they've been genetically designed to go back to the right place, to their particular places, and they come back here. So four again has to be a wetland because it has been there for an existing purpose. It has been there it is serving a purpose of an ecosystem. So these birds come here, they migrate here, they propagate, and then they go back. So, and for that, the complete system within that water body is supporting it. So this is how we can say that we've identified a wetland. So we realize what is something which has been a wetland is something which can live on its own. It can run on its own. Whereas if it is going to be, it'll have to be pumped with something which is not natural, something which is not which is without which it cannot survive. Then it does not form as part of the wetland. Okay, let's go on to the next. This is the simplest way of understanding a wetland. A simple way of understanding. There are many other parameters for a wetland, but this is one of the very few parameters from which we can judge at our level and at our age. Could we go to the next slide, please? Could we go on to the next slide, please? We will now be talking about. We've been talking about the monsoons. Okay. Could we have the next slide, please? Yeah. Thank you. So we've been talking about the monsoons. If you notice, I've just taken two pictures of a very famous Garjia temple out here in near the Corbett area. You can see in both photographs, the temple is the same, the location is the same, but what happens during the monsoon? The river comes in spate. Okay, you can see on the left, the river comes in spate, whereas while in the summer months or in the late winters, the river has receded, and what we see here is two different phases of the monsoon. If you look at the left of the left and right of the temple, you will notice the areas, the embankments which are dry in the right photograph. You will see the embankments which are dry on the right photograph. At the back, you will see behind the temple, they are dry. When they are dry, then there's this portion which is always continuous and which is a perennial So water, so the water is there permanently. There is an ecosystem within the water there because there is fish, different types of fish, crabs, and different kinds of insects, which and plankton and things, various things like that, so which are already there in the water. But what about outside also? So there is an inside and there is an outside. I think Soumya ma'am was talking about areas such as when we were talking about the Finsbury, and we were talking about the how different kinds of ecosystems on the surface, away from the water. So you can look at the back there. There are different types of. So you've got these uh, dry patches, but you notice in those dry patches also there are certain places which are small little puddles of water which are created, which are there. And you must have seen, when you go closer to these water bodies, they look a little murky. They look a lot of like as if when you put your feet in, there's a lot of sludge. You feel as if your foot is suddenly going inside, and to just a certain depth, maybe just about an inch, your feet goes in, and then you feel that the water suddenly becomes very dirty. And so what is happening is basically all the water has settled down, it become clear pool, and but then there's a lot of insects on top. You see these small little um, um, striders on top. You have these kind of uh, insects which are on the water. They're sliding on the water, and there are other insects looking like small little um, small little shells which swim down, and then they come up and they go swim down, and all these things. So these are the different kinds of ecosystems that are being generated now. What you realize is two different things. One is the perennial. Okay, let's go to the next page. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So you see two things. Okay, you have the perennial and the seasonal. So in the perennial, what you see is something which is in the river. This river is moving. There is a certain ecosystem which is there. It is very robust, because of which, and the biological oxygen demand is also good, which we were talking about in the beginning, and the water is running very well. But on the other side, where there is marshland, okay, I've shown you a photograph. It says seasonal and perennial. So what do you expect to see here, which is a marsh area? Okay. Now, what is happening in these areas is another complete ecosystem which has been generated, and this allows. What does this do? So, what all will it be hosting? It will be hosting dead leaves, wood from wood floating down during the monsoons, because this is after the monsoons. In the winters, you can make out that it's the grasses have dried up. The monsoons, the grasses are absolutely green, so the grasses have dried up. Or maybe it could be more towards the month of April or March, and you see what happens. What happens is you have these small little water pools, which maybe are part of right after the water has receded. तो यहाँ जहाँ जहाँ गड्ढे थे, वहां पे पानी रुक गया, और वहां पे क्या हुआ, बहुत सारे कीड़े आ रहे हैं, डड्डू आ रहे हैं. That means frogs. You can hear them croaking. You can hear you know that don't walk into that space. वहां पे सांप भी हो सकता है. We keep talking about it, but what is happening is eventually it is creating an ecosystem, and this complete thing will dry up by the summer months. पता लगा May and June में the 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 river becomes a trickle, much lesser, but these sites have dried up, and these grasses have also dried up, and you can see the rocks after that. And but as soon as the rain comes back in, the river becomes swollen up, and it goes onto the sides again, and then the ecosystem starts off again. बहुत बार आप देखोगे कि आपके घरों के पास लोग छोटे छोटे तालाब बन जाते हैं, और वहां पे लोग पंप से, इन द मंथ ऑफ सितंबर एंड अक्टूबर, अब जो आप देखेंगे, पंप से लोग उसमें से पानी निकालते हैं और फिर मच्छी पकड़ते हैं. करेक्ट? हैज एनीबॉडी सीन दैट समवेयर? हेलो, हैज एनीबॉडी सीन दैट एनीवेयर, कि लोग मच्छी पकड़ रहे हैं, पानी पंप से निकाल रहे हैं, मच्छी पकड़ रहे हैं, छोटे छोटे गड्ढे बना रहे हैं और उसमें से मच्छी पकड़ रहे हैं. तो व्हाट आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क, और मे बी इफ एनीबॉडी कैन गिव मी एन आंसर टू दिस, इज ये जब मच्छी पकड़ने जा रही है, बारिश हुई, पानी आपके रोड के साइड में गड्ढों में भर गया, लेकिन लोग उसके बाद इन द मंथ ऑफ सितंबर एंड अक्टूबर वहां पे फिर भी मच्छी पकड़ लेते हैं. ये मच्छी आई कहाँ से? ये मच्छी आई कहाँ से? Anybody would like to answer? Okay, maybe we'll discuss it in the second time. But ये मच्छियां आ रही हैं इसके अंदर, लोग इसको पकड़ रहे हैं, ठीक है, एंड मौसम सूख जाता है, ये जगह सूख जाती है, अगले साल फिर से बारिश होती है, फिर से ये गड्ढे भर जाते हैं, एंड फिर से यहाँ पे सब कुछ चालू हो जाता है। आपके घरों के पास frogs बोलने लगते हैं, certain things happen there, and you can start seeing that the ecosystem is generating itself. This would not maybe happen in your um, in your paddy fields. Reason being, maybe you've added some chemicals into it. किसी ने उसमें कोई स्प्रे लगाया है ताकि उसमें डिफरेंट तरीके की तितली आती है जो कीड़ा, देर आर बोरर्स, स्टेम बोरर्स एंड थिंग लाइक दैट, तो उसके लिए उन्होंने ताकि दूसरी घास ना आए, वीड्स को भी बंद, टू eradicate weeds, तो उन्होंने machete, there's a different kind of a chemical which has been placed so that machete is put, and then it creates a small little layer on the ground. Maybe a certain amount of diesel is sprayed. So these kind of things have been done so that वहाँ पे आपके ना ही weeds आए, different kind weeds would be different kinds of grasses, and ना ही उसमें कोई कीड़ा आए, so that you have a very good bumper crop. But what is happening in this on the side is that the ecosystem has been totally eradicated. That's what we are doing. Effectively, what are we doing? We are closing down the ecosystem to maximize on our paddy crop and maximize on our quality, the quantity of produce, so that we can get reap maximum benefits. The economy would be improved. But what is happening is that's not creating an ecosystem. Okay. So we have kind of understood what is an ecosystem, but now I'd like to show you something. Let's go to the next photograph. The next slide, please. So I'd like you to see this. Okay, this photograph taken, and I'd like you to just observe what all has happened there. There are ducks, which are obviously they are migratory. Okay, and you got the water body there. There are certain grasses which are around. These are grasses which, when the water recedes, these grasses will kind of propagate and create a lot of foliage. But then you also notice something, that there is plastic here. What we consider we could say that obviously plastic has been generated by humans, and we have seen this around. We have seen issues like this around, because obviously we've gone into various parts in the hills. We've had our holidays. We're thirsty. We drink clean water, so you take a mineral bottle of bottled water, and we carry our uh, packet of chips. We have our Maggie. So everything that is what we are having is kind of uh, basically packaged in plastic. What is happening to the plastic? We might have done. I'm not saying that we don't or we do, but I'm just saying we might have put it into a waste paper bin, and then it kind of has been moved to a different location, and it has been dumped somewhere. And during the monsoon, maybe because of the excessive flow of water, a lot of it has been pushed to the river and starts flowing along the river, because everything gets pushed along the river. And in various places, especially in barrages or check dams, we notice that there is a lot of plastic which is there on the sides of the river. We see a lot of plastic spewed on the sides. So the question has been placed there: what happened to the plastic after this photograph was taken? When the place dried up, what happened to the plastic after this photograph has been taken? Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Okay. The second question I'd like to put forward to you: which is the common use plastics that is observed in this story? Okay, which is the common use plastic which has been observed in this story? Okay, or can you identify various types of plastic? So herein maybe let's try one, and that is the plastic bottle, or we can say what kind of plastic. Could it be PET? Could it be just a single-use plastic? So this plastic bottle is a single-use plastic bottle. So it's written on that usually, please crush and dispose after use. This plastic bottle, that's what is written usually. Or you can see the small little container on the left-hand side. You may see a small little container on the left-hand side. You mean various things that have got sunken into the ground. Could anybody identify what kind of plastics we usually observe? Any kind of plastic you observe in these areas? Anybody else? Anybody can identify some? Would somebody want to say? Would somebody want to say something about it? What kinds of plastic? Anybody? So when this water would dry up, I would assume that this water, when the water dries up, the plastic remains where it is. Option one, the plastic could remain where it is. Option two, it could wait for the next monsoon and the water could move it forward and finally down to the ocean. Okay. Point number three, it could lie in the top somewhere and could be ingested by a different animal. Maybe कोई रैपर था जिसके अंदर हमने खाना, प्लास्टिक पॉलिथीन हमने पैकेट था, उसमें खाना खाया, आपने छोले भटूरे लेकर गए थे यहाँ से into the hills or somewhere, you had खाना खाया था, उसके अंदर थोड़ा बहुत रह गया था, वो ये तो खराब हो गया, पुराना हो गया, इसको हमने इसको साइड में फेंका एंड इट्स गॉन। और हमने नहीं फेंका, किसी और ने फेंका, लेट्स नॉट ब्लेम एनीबॉडी। ये कहीं ना कहीं नीचे पहुंच गया, उसको गाय ने देखा नीचे, उसने उसको स्मेल आई उसको, बिकॉज दे हैव गॉट वेरी गुड सेंस ऑफ स्मेल, उन्होंने इकट्ठा किया, मुंह में डाला और खा गए, और वो आपके सिस्टम में चला गया, वो आपके सिस्टम, वो गाय खा गई। ठीक है, सो इट कुड गो इन टू द स्टमक ऑफ द एनिमल, और ओके द फ्लोरा, सॉरी द फौना, इट कुड गेट स्टक इन द फ्लोरा, वहीं पर ही। इट कुड गो अंडरनीथ द ग्राउंड, द अगर मट्टी ज्यादा आ गई तो मट्टी के अंदर दब गया, या इट कुड गेट फ्लोट डाउन टू द नेक्स्ट लोकेशन downriver, or it could finally get into the sea. So these are the possibilities which we feel would happen to the plastic. Is that right? This is what we could consider that would happen to the plastic. Fine. I don't hear any yeses or nos. Any thumbs up if you understood what we're talking about? Anybody, if you're okay with it, could you just give me a thumbs up if we've gone through something relevant, you understood it? Are we getting thumbs ups? Okay. Are we getting thumbs ups? Okay, good. You got a few. You got a few. Good. Fine. So the last question. Last slide. Last slide. So I would like to ask you, if this plastic is there, अगर ये प्लास्टिक यहीं पर ही है, क्या हमारे इकोसिस्टम को कोई फर्क पड़ेगा? लोगों ने कहा है प्लास्टिक बहुत बुरी चीज है, ये है फलाना इनका। I would like you to consider the first point, एंड वाकई में कोई फर्क पड़ रहा है क्या हमारे इकोसिस्टम को? पहली चीज। और अगर वो चीज है तो क्या है? ठीक है, दिस इज द क्वेश्चन आफ्टर दिस कंप्लीट डिस्कशन, आफ्टर दिस कंप्लीट explanation which I have done. I would like you to think for yourself कि क्या इकोसिस्टम को कोई फर्क पड़ा, और पड़ा तो क्या पड़ा? In the sense, कि प्लास्टिक को क्या हुआ, कि वो उसका हमारे इकोसिस्टम के अंदर कहीं घुसा क्या, और किस वाले इकोसिस्टम में घुसा, आइडेंटिफाई वन इकोसिस्टम जिसमें वो घुसा, उसकी वजह से आपको क्या हुआ. Okay, is that okay? Would I have a thumbs up? Did you understand? Any question on this? Any questions on this? Would like anybody want to answer question anything on this? So what is happening is the same thing has been written in your in the complete in the invite which we have sent, and it says each participating team would need to identify a natural or a man-made water body. कोई सी भी natural या man-made water body आपके स्कूल के आसपास या घर के आसपास कोई सी भी नहर या कोई नदी या कोई तालाब, ऐसा कोई भी चीज हो जो आसपास हो जिसको आप एक्सेस कर सकते हो, कोई भी एक मैनमेड वाटर बॉडी या नेचुरल वाटर बॉडी हो जिसको कोई विच कैन आइडेंटिफाई बी आइडेंटिफाइड एज एन इकोसिस्टम, उसमें एक इकोसिस्टम कहीं ना कहीं जनरेटेड हो. अगर वो इकोसिस्टम है तो आप उस इकोसिस्टम को आप देखोगे, उसको चार्ट करोगे, मतलब कि उसको आइडेंटिफाई करोगे. दिस इज पहले कीड़ा, पहले पानी आया, पानी की वजह से ये हुआ, ये इसके बाद ये इसने खाया, इसने खाया, इकोसिस्टम इस तरह को. सो बायोडाइवर्सिटी भी ये एक तो इकोसिस्टम हो गया कि कौन से किस चीज ने किसको, एक लाइफ साइकिल बन गया. दूसरा हो गया बायोडाइवर्सिटी. बायोडाइवर्सिटी में क्या हुआ कि इसमें खाली कीड़े कीड़े को खाली फ्रॉग ने नहीं खाया, लेकिन किसी और लिजर्ड ने भी खाया. लिजर्ड कोई और इकोसिस्टम में आ रही है क्या? ठीक है, एक फूड चेन वो अलग बन गई, एक फूड चेन ये अलग बन गई. तो नंबर ऑफ फूड चेन्स विल क्रिएट अ बायोडाइवर्सिटी विच इज देयर इन दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पेस. तो आपने एक बार ये देखना है, उसके बाद हम ये देखेंगे कि ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन, मतलब कि ह्यूमंस जब उसके अंदर आ जाता है, जैसे कि आपने पॉइंट नंबर 3 देखा, द टाइपोलॉजी नंबर 3 देखी थी जिसमें उन्होंने, सौम्या मैम ने बात करी थी फिन्स बया के बारे में. तो उन्होंने उसके बारे में पूछा कि भाई वो फिन्स बया जो रिवर, जो माशी लैंड में, जो हमारा मार्श लैंड है उसके आसपास, वो उसमें छोटा सा वीवर नेस्ट बनाती है, और वीवर नेस्ट बनाने के बाद उसमें चिड़िया वहीं पे अपना घोंसला बनाती है और वहां पे अपने अंडे देती है, और दैट इज हाउ इट प्रोपेगेट्स. लेकिन अब उन्होंने कहा ये फूड चेन खत्म हो गई है, उसका वीवर बर्ड को प्रॉब्लम आ गई है. वीवर बर्ड क्यों कम हो रही है? सो दैट इज बेसिकली आइडेंटिफाइंग एन इकोसिस्टम. उसको देखकर वी कैन वर्क ऑन समथिंग. दूसरी चीज ये है, लेकिन इस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक में जो हमारा इको रेस्टोरेशन है, ठीक है जी, जो हमारा ये वेटलैंड रेस्टोरेशन है, वेटलैंड रेस्टोरेशन में हम वो फिन्स बाया की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम ये कह रहे हैं कि ये जो प्लास्टिक इसके अंदर है, जो ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन की वजह से प्लास्टिक आया है, इस प्लास्टिक की वजह से क्या इकोसिस्टम को हुआ है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग द इफेक्ट्स ऑफ दिस इकोसिस्टम ड्यू टू क्लाइमेट चेंज और ह्यूमन इनहैबिटेशन. क्लाइमेट चेंज को भी ले सकते हैं, अगर आपको लग रहा है क्लाइमेट चेंज हैज गॉट अ बेटर रोल, बिगर रोल टू प्ले, आप क्लाइमेट चेंज को डाल सकते हैं. एंड ह्यूमन हैबिटेशन, ठीक है, क्योंकि ह्यूमन हैबिटेशन अपस्ट्रीम हो सकता है, अपस्ट्रीम किसी ने प्लास्टिक की बोतल फेंकी, वो यहाँ पे पहुंची, इसकी वजह से ये हुआ, या उसने प्लास्टिक पैकेट में उसने कुछ खाना छोड़ दिया, वो या चिप्स का पैकेट छोड़ दिया या बिस्किट का पैकेट छोड़ दिया, बिकॉज बिस्किट इज वेरी lured by our dogs at home, lured by cows, lured by everybody, so everybody is going to be getting affected to it. It comes down here, maybe even deer would like it, even mongoose would like it, so things like that. So what is the ecosystem out there and how it is getting affected? And once we've understood that, you have to then identify कि अगर हम इस तरीके की पॉलिसी अपनाएं, इस तरीके की पॉलिसी अपनाएं, तो इससे इकोसिस्टम को फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. इकोसिस्टम को फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, या द इकोसिस्टम कैन बी मेंटेन्ड. जैसे कि आपने देखा था, वीडियो में देखा था कि उन्होंने प्लास्टिक पहले ही रोक लिया था, उसमें एक छोटा सा छन्ना सा लगा दिया था ताकि प्लास्टिक अंदर जाए ना. So only soil, that means only sewage waste. When there is a difference between sewage waste, which is for human human waste, and there is other waste which is like chemical waste. That is so there's a difference between a sewage treatment plant and an effluent treatment plant. I think we'll have to try and understand that. Then only we can identify bio waste compared to chemical waste. How we will identify it, what happens to it. So these kind of things would be interesting for us to do. Once you've done that, you identified it, then you can see how it is going to be, how um, there are two different ways of creating solutions. Okay, there are two different ways of creating solutions, and what one is pre and the other is post. Pre मतलब कि preventive. प्रिवेंटिव आपको कोरोना का बारी हमारी बात हुई थी कोरोना में किसी को कोरोना हो गया तो उसके बाद उसको कौन सी दवाई देनी है मेक श्योर ऑफ ऑल द मेक श्योर दैट द लाइफ ऑफ द पर्सन इज टेकन केयर ऑफ उसको मेडिकल एड पहुंचे एंड बट प्रिवेंटिव क्या हो गया कि कोई भी उसके पास ना जाए पीपीई किट पहना हुआ है उसको बाकी लोगों को कोविशील्ड या कोवैक्सिन जो भी उसको पहले एडमिनिस्टर कर दी सो दैट इज अ प्रिवेंटिव थिंग एंड वन इज प्री दैट इज प्रिवेंटिव एंड पोस्ट दैट इज आफ्टर मेजर्स ये दोनों चीजों के आप सोल्यूशंस दे वो आपको आइडेंटिफाई करना पड़ेगा किस तरीके से प्री क्या करेंगे और पोस्ट क्या करेंगे अगर पहले तो क्या है ना पहली चीज उसको रोक लो दैट मीन्स सपोज हम करते थे ना रिड्यूस रीयूज रिसाइकल बट अगर हम रिफ्यूज कर देंगे तो रिफ्यूज मतलब कि फ्री हो गया प्लास्टिक हमने रिफ्यूज कर दी तो वो फ्री हो गया रिड्यूस रीयूज रिसाइकल के इज अ प्रिवेंटिव मेजर वो पोस्ट मेडिसिन वो हो गया पोस्ट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो गया सो these are the ways in which we can create our solutions and how we will take the assistance of the community आप और मैंने अगर बोला कि मैं प्लास्टिक नहीं यूज करूंगा खाली दो लोगों से शायद फर्क ना पड़ेगा जितने बाकी लोगों से फर्क पड़ सकता है अगर हम आइडिया कम्युनिटी के साथ बात करके कम्युनिटी के साथ वर्क करके उसका एक बड़ा मेजर्स बना सकते हैं उसके बड़े प्लानिंग कर सकते हैं दैट इज अ working with communities that will be more helpful so in this when we talk about working with communities and solutions so I would just like to identify that the best ideas are the ones hear me out properly best ideas are the ones which can be implemented easily ठीक है without much issues least expensive and yield maximum results ठीक है I'll say that again best ideas are the ones which can be implemented easily which do not have much issues मतलब कि local issues अरे तुमने तो दूसरे का काम ही रोक दिया उसकी आमदनी रोक दी किसी ने बोला हाय जी मेरी तो दुकान बंद कर दी so then implementation becomes an issue you have to see how it will work वहां पे छोले भटूरे के उसने बिकॉज आपने पानी एवरीबडी लाइक्स टू गो नेक्स्ट टू द रिवर एंड हैव अ पिकनिक देयर वहां पे छोले भटूरे वाले स्टॉल लगा दिया वहां पे उसने पेपर के पत्तों के कटोरे की जगह उसने प्लास्टिक के कटोरी देने लग गए बिकॉज इट इज चीपर उसने वो दे दिया बट उसने फिर आपने उसके लिए सोल्यूशन नहीं निकाला उसको उसकी दुकान बंद कर दी सो व्हाट विल हैपन इज देन द इम्प्लीमेंटेशंस are not easy so implementation it should be implemented easy without much issues least expensive and yielding maximum results इससे फायदा सबसे ज्यादा होना चाहिए so obviously maximum results would be maximum number of marks so these kind of things we would need to consider so I would like to end here and I would like for any questions to be asked if you have any questions if you'd like me to explain some things um, I'm hoping that you would have. We can end the PPT, please. We can end the PPT. So the PowerPoint presentation could be ended now. We can have see our faces. So if you have any doubts, you can get in touch with us. Okay, through the C2 team is there to help us out. You have any doubts about it? Um, you you're taking it up as a challenge. Obviously, all these things are challenges. How and why many would ask as to how is it going to assist us in our education system? How does our classroom understanding help us here. So we could be understanding things like um, people are talking about microplastics. People are talking about microplastics entering into the human fetus. How? Why? Is it a polymer? How is it helping us? How is it affecting our system? We talk about microplastics in our system. आप पॉलीस्टाइरीन के कप्स में या थर्मोकोल के कप्स में पानी चाय मत पीजिए, आपको माइक्रोप्लास्टिक्स इंजेस्ट हो जाएंगे. या आप पानी जो कोल्ड ड्रिंक की बोतल है या पानी की बोतल है, धूप में ना पड़ी रहे, उसको उसकी वजह से प्लास्टिक्स इंजेस्ट हो जाएंगे. ऑल दीज थिंग्स पीपल आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, बट डज इट, how does it affect us? First of all, does it get into our system? How is it getting into our system? People are talking about uh, microplastics getting into the fetus. Does it affect the plant life also? Does it affect only animal life and the animal kingdom? Or does it affect plants also? How does it affect, if it does? What happens to the water? Is it water soluble? Things like that. These are the kind of questions which we can come across. What about polymers? What about various types of biodiversity? What is about ecosystems? So all these things which we are studying in class, we are trying to visualize it and we are trying to see it in front of us. You may be talking about what do you call the silkworm creating silk, and you're talking about it, but the silkworm and the evolution, the pupa, falana, dinkana. But how does it affect our ecosystem? How does it come into it? So that will be of great importance. So I would like to end here with any questions that would need to be asked. Thank you. Waiting for questions. Over to you, Setu team.
So we repeat, if anyone has any questions, now is the perfect time to ask. All right, so no questions, I guess. Fantastic. Thank you, sir, for this enlightening session.
So, as
Thank
we
you.
draw this session to a close, we wish to express our deepest gratitude to our dedicated panelists for their invaluable mentorship. Thank you, Pankaj sir. We are also deeply grateful to our patron for joining us today and contributing to the success of the session.
All right, so as a reminder, our next workshop will take place on August 22nd. We look forward to seeing you all there. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Bye.